Hello and welcome to Back in the 90s, a Bojack Horseman recap series. This series is dedicated to going through each episode of Bojack Horseman and discussing plot holes, notable quotes, Easter eggs, and more. Today we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 5, Live Fast, Diane Nguyen. Without further ado, my name is Joe without the E. Let's go Back in the 90s. So this episode starts out at the Air Bud International Airport, which I will admit I loved any talking animal-based movie as a kid. However, I do believe that Homeward Bound reigns supreme. We also see a flock of bird flight attendants. Inside the airport, Bojack is holding up the TSA line because he has various metal objects on him, such as a flask and a gun-shaped lighter.
Stop holding up the line, idiot!
It's not his fault, he's just doing his job.
It's your fault, dummy!
Just wanted to point out that Bojack's flask says thanks from ABC, and we do know from the pilot that Horsing Around did air on ABC. Bojack starts arguing with the security guard and is just being a textbook self-centered asshole.
Do you know who I am? I'm actually a huge celebrity on my way to New York for an important meeting with a book publisher.
He starts looking around for Diane, who has already gotten through the line.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to New York. Could be this.
Oh my god, he's got a gun!
Relax, it's a lighter.
We're gonna need a full-body cavity search.
After the theme song, we are at Penguin Publishing HQ in New York City, and it is in equally rough shape as its LA counterpart. There's a big ol' sign on it in Spanish that when translated says, "Danger, asbestos, declared imminent ruin."
Let's just say it's better for everyone's kneecaps if I stay out of California for a little bit.
Pinky inquires about how the book is coming along, to which Bojack replies and says,
Got heartfelt anecdotes and witty observations left and right, and this one is spinning it all into gold.
Diane's phone starts to ring, and this is the first time we hear one of her classic NPR ringtones.
Phone is ringing. I'm Ira Glass. Thank you for being.
As soon as Diane is out of earshot, Bojack tells Pinky that he doesn't think it's working out with Diane because he says she's too functional. What I think that actually means is Bojack feels like Diane can see right through his bullshit, and that makes him uncomfortable. Pinky has a bit of a meltdown at Bojack saying this.
Don't I just get on the phone and call a less functional? What are you talking about? This is a very bad time, Bojack!
Diane returns from her phone call, and Bojack makes a cheeky little comment asking if it was the library calling her to thank her for never returning a book late. And Diane says,
My dad just died.
Right after saying this, Diane brushes right past it and asks if they firmed up a release date. Bojack says how sorry he is to Diane, and Diane replies,
It's fine. He was old and also the worst.
They continue talking about what is going to happen with the book.
I just gotta swing by Boston and give my condolences real quick. Bojack can come with me.
Next scene, we are in Bojack's kitchen with Todd singing the cutest egg song.
And bless these scrambled eggs, eggs from the fridge, sunny side them and guide them.
It's like an elevated bacon pancakes. Remember bacon pancakes?
Pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake.
Todd starts reading a note on the fridge, and here's Bojack narrating the note because...
You're hearing my voice in your head because that's how reading works.
Oh, yeah.
And the note is pretty much Bojack telling Todd that he left him home alone for the day and not to do anything.
Yes! Well, seal's broken. Might as well enjoy myself.
This is one of my favorite montages in the show. I'm just so happy for Todd here, and it's such a good song choice.
Great story, Todd. I love our friendship.
While outside, Todd spots a tour bus that mistakes Bojack's house for David Boreanaz's house, and Todd tells them they're mistaken, but when one of the tourists said that she would pay $50 to see where David Boreanaz lives, he changes his mind. I also love that it was a koala with an Australian accent. It's an obvious one, but I really do like that detail. I know y'all were wondering. David Boreanaz is the guy from Bones. Next scene, we're in Boston, baby, and I love how the car's license plate says Go Sox. Bojack tells Diane that he's not exactly great with
Funerals or death or families or feelings or people.
Don't worry. You can wait in the car.
Diane goes on to say that her brothers are mean dirtbags, and this is one of the first times that Diane is really talking about herself and her life, and Bojack continually makes it about him. But we do get a butterscotch flashback Jesus.
I wish I had brothers growing up. Touch football on the weekends, noogie parades on the reg. Life as an only child can get pretty lonely. Imaginary friends are freeloaders invented by communists to rip off welfare. Why don't you do something productive like bang your head against the wall until your brain isn't so stupid?
Okay, Daddy.
Diane goes on to say that her family is not very kind to her. And Bojack makes a joke like, oh, so you're the black sheep? And she's like, no, Gary is. He's adopted, which is so funny to me. When she says that her father was especially cruel to her, Bojack is like, wait a minute, didn't you tell me a story about you guys hanging out on the roof?
Yeah, I was just trying to get you to open up, so I used an old writer's trick called me lying to you.
Oh yeah? Well, I'm using an old me trick called That Hurts My Feelings.
I really like how candid Bojack is here that Diane hurt his feelings, and I really love how honest and vulnerable Diane is being about her childhood. She tells him she used to sit alone by the dump, and it's a very, sweet scene. This is a very pivotal episode for their friendship. They pull up to Diane's family home, and Diane tells Bojack she'll be back in a few minutes. And I think most of us know what scene's coming up next.
With this kaleidoscope I got you at the airport.
What? A kaleidoscope? I'm not 5. Shapes and colors the likes of which I've never seen.
Diane enters her family's home with the most realistic greeting for someone seeing their neglectful family.
Hello?
When Diane comes in, one of her brothers gets so excited that he throws down the entire bowl of chips that he was carrying. The other brother on the sofa, Marty, has a jersey on that just says sports, which makes me think of...
Go sports!
Also, if you look in the bottom left corner, there is someone in that chair, and we'll get back to that. On the wall, they have various off-centered frame sports-themed pictures, one being the Boston gloves. They also have stacked boxes in the corner marked fragile. Are they moving?
Ma, come look what the Pats dragged in.
Oh, hello! Look who decided to come home. Queen Dee Dee blesses us with her presence.
Oof, you can feel the tension in this scene if you are or have ever been the black sheep of your household.
Sure, in and out like a Protestant on Christmas.
That line always makes me laugh. The delivery is so good. I also love that Gary, like Marty, has an equally vague sports jersey that just says ball game.
And you make like A-Rod and blow.
Don't go. Dee Dee, please. She wants you here. We all do. Besides, we need your help organizing all the funeral stuff. We didn't go to college. We're not smart like you.
Fine, I'll help. Is there a number for me to call?
Yeah, try 1-800-THE-INTERNET, dummy.
Her brother goes on to say that she should do it quick because the ice is starting to melt. And he swings around the chair to reveal a very dead dad. We cut back to David Boreanaz's house, and Todd is giving tours to people, and I love this line.
Famous from television shows such as dramas on networks.
Todd's plan was simply to cut out pictures of David Boreanaz and paste them onto Bojack's pictures, and it's working.
Hey, mate, this picture of David Boreanaz fell apart.
You just go look through David Boreanaz's underwear drawer, okay? It's in his bedroom.
Oh, knickers.
On the wall behind Todd, you can see the full, length picture of Bojack from Horsing Around, and David's face doesn't even, cover all of Bojack's snout. Also, I think this is pretty obvious, but the koala is the same one as the one on the bus in the beginning. Todd glances back at the picture and...
Uh-oh, am I reading something again?
No. This is your conscience. Bojack trusted you to take care of his house. Is this really what you're doing?
Todd essentially smothering the picture is so well animated and so funny. Todd then gets a phone call, and I'm obsessed with the way that he answers phone calls. I wish they were socially acceptable to do.
It's a great day on Todd's phone. How can I help?
It's Princess Carolyn on the other end, and she starts yelling at him for trying to cut his agent out of the David house deal. And PC asks,
have you thought about attaching Mila Kunis to this thing?
Attach her? How?
You do your job, I'll do mine.
Who is this?
If you recall from the last episode, PC asked Todd for his autograph, but it was actually an agent contract, so it makes sense why Todd doesn't know who his agent is. Now, why he didn't ask that? Now, that's on Todd foolery. If you notice, behind Todd, when he's on the phone with Princess Carolyn, we see one of the dino raccoons from the pilot. We cut back to Bojack, and he's having a great time with his kaleidoscope, until he's not.
Well, out of combinations, now I'm bored. Diane!
Back in Diane's family's home, the family is arguing as Diane says that her brother could help plan the funeral instead of watching a rerun of some old baseball game. And boy mom Nguyen is here to scold Diane, I guess, for judging them, which is just so asinine. It sucks because you can tell even by this brief interaction that Diane grew up in an incredibly misogynistic household in which her mother was a grown-up pick-me and let internalized misogyny dictate how she treated her daughter. And how she allowed her sons, and I'm guessing late husband, to treat her daughter as well. At some point, one of Diane's brothers says something like, "Why bother doing anything at all? All the jobs are going to immigrants anyway." And Diane's like, "Dude, what are you talking about? We're immigrants. We're Vietnamese."
Step off. We're American as fuck.
Gotta love the F-bomb fake out. Bojack goes into Diane's family's home and says he's looking for Diane, and he asks if anyone speaks English, which is so racist. The joke afterward, though, is very funny.
Pull over and park the car. Is that the frickin' horse from horsing around?
Again, does anyone here speak English?
Diane's family seems very pleased that Bojack is there, and then we cut back to Todd's little scam.
This house, $75 each, children and seniors free.
I love how when PC gets involved, the price goes up $25. Also, if you notice, the two dogs that PC checks in are the dogs from the grocery store in episode 2. The two cuties that were talking about chocolate. I'm glad they became friends. Todd leads a group through the house and stops to point out Mila Kunis eating a sandwich, and then he points out the BH on the hand towels and says that they stand for Boreanaz's house. That scene is very short because right after we cut back to Diane's family home and we see a bird landing on a wire and it sinks under the human level weight, which I find hilarious. Inside the home, we see Diane making the funeral calls while Bojack is enjoying his I Have Brothers role play that he has going on.
You ever meet any Boston celebrities?
Well, one time at Bristol Farms, Ben Affleck and I did reach for the same bunch of grapes.
Hey, Ma, Ben Affleck eats grapes.
We don't eat grapes.
Terrific line read from Melissa Leo, who plays Diane's mother. Bojack then asks the guys if they want to play touch football later.
A star like you, that would be mad wicked pisser.
Interesting how Bojack couldn't understand them like 3 minutes ago, but I guess he's caught on since then. One of the brothers says that they have to watch the Cryan video, and they go on to explain what this is.
Dee Dee was 16. We made up a secret pen pal for her named Leo.
All took turns writing the letters. Pretended to be the sensitive boy from Cambridge.
That has got to be one of the most mentally and emotionally abusive things you can do to a 16-year-old. Betray their trust for one.
He hired a homeless guy to pretend to be Leo and take it to the homecoming dance.
Oh, wait, what?
Like your boutonniere?
And secondly, they completely humiliate her on an important night like prom. It's disgusting, and it breaks my heart that sweet Diane is still trying to be nice to who she thought her pen pal was. Like, ugh, this poor girl.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it. It's a brothers thing, right, brothers?
You know, it's nice that years later we can all laugh about this.
Yep, my therapist thinks the same thing.
So Diane says she's going to go to the funeral home, and she asks if any of her brothers want to come, and they all start whining. And she's like, fine, whatever.
And we all really appreciate it.
Come on, Bojack.
Why you gotta take Bojack with you?
So clearly, Diane's brothers are upset that Bojack is leaving, but Bojack hypes him up before he goes, and he says that he'll see them at the funeral.
Funeral! Funeral!
Before we go to the next scene, I forgot to mention that at some point during the conversation about the Cryan video, we actually see one of her brothers get up and go up the stairs to retrieve it. Next scene, we're back with Todd, and he is leading the tour, and he has this dummy set up Home Alone style to mimic the slumbering Mr. Boreanaz. Also, I like the detail of the flamingo kind of moving their neck around the other person to get a peek. At the Maggot and Sons funeral home, Diane and the funeral director, who is unsurprisingly a maggot, set on the piece of shit package would be too good for him package, and I adore that pamphlet. It is too goddamn funny. Bojack then gives Diane the stupidest, unsolicited advice and says that she could learn something from her brothers, and Diane says that if she was like her brothers, nothing would get done, and I believe that.
If you can't find a way to let off some steam, you're going to explode. God damn it, are you goddamn kidding me? I keep getting calls from this unlisted number. Ignore. Who are these assholes?
It's our boys, the paparazzi birds, and they're like, we can't even get in touch with him to blackmail him. So they decide to go to his house.
I could have sworn Bojack Horseman lived here.
PC then delivers more money to Todd, and Todd is very clearly overwhelmed.
I ran out of shoeboxes for the money, and the books aren't adding up. Plus, to fire Janine in the gift shop for stealing boreable heads.
Princess Carolyn is like, I don't give a shit, Todd. Let's make me more money.
My mother told me never to slap an idiot.
What? Ow!
Now we're both breaking the rules. Mommy likes her shoes, see? And her pearls.
Amy Sedaris simply eats up every single line she's given. She is so talented. Todd starts talking to a picture of David Boreanaz, but it's Bojack's voice and it gives him advice.
So, I want to say, new girl? Just keep doing what you're doing and you'll be fine.
Wow. Thanks, Davy B.
Never call me that!
It's interesting how even in Todd's imagination, Bojack doesn't approve of all of his little quirks and jokes and nicknames and stuff. Back at the funeral home, no one showed up, not even the dead dad. I like how the maggot character is like wriggling up like how a maggot would, and then he stands up to talk. Also, if you notice the slime trail.
Pick up. My goons went to pick your father up, but nobody was home.
Diane's family is at a sports bar, which is probably on brand for them.
Hey, assholes! Where were you? I planned the whole funeral like you asked me to, and nobody showed.
Her brothers explain that after giving it thought, they decided they don't think their father would have wanted a quote-unquote stuffy funeral, and they think that he'd want
to be chopped up into chum and thrown in Derek Jeter's fat face.
Yeah, suck it, Jeter!
Real quick, look at this great screenshot I got during that scene. It's almost as bad as the sneezing picture. Diane is rightfully disturbed by this, and her annoying-ass mother says,
What your father wanted, honey. But then, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Girl, fuck off. I can't stand moms like this. Diane is, again, rightfully pissed, and she's like, let me get this completely straight. I spent all day planning this funeral. I paid for this funeral, and you guys couldn't even show up. And her mother in the conversation says something like, why does everything have to be about big shot Diane? And Bojack says this.
Diane isn't a big shot. She's my ghostwriter. She's writing a book that's not even gonna have her name on it. You think this is how she expected her life would be going at 34? She lives with her rich boyfriend and doesn't pay rent. She's not too good for anything.
On today's episode of Why the Hell Would You Say That? Why the hell would you say that? I don't get what he thought he was gonna accomplish here. And I want to talk about the line, she's not too good for anything. That is so insulting. Like, Bojack, what were you doing?
Whoa.
This is why I told you to wait in the car!
Does anyone else hear Diane's Boston accent when she's having, like, the breakdown? Also, during her breakdown, we actually see the crawfish that was passed out on the table behind them wake up from Diane's yelling. Also, her mother has this smug-ass line.
Diane, you are making a public spectacle of yourself.
Does she not sound so self-satisfied? Like, it sounds like she's smirking as she says it. Melissa Leo, if you ever hear this, were you smirking when you said this line? It's infuriatingly spot on to a, like, abuser that relies on reactionary abuse, where they keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you until you finally snap. It is so spot on. So Diane is fed up, and she steals the keys to her dad's truck, which has his chummed up body in the back.
Suck a dick, dumb shits!
Last episode, we saw Bojack repeat this catchphrase that he learned from Sarah Lynn, and now we're seeing Diane repeat it when she learned it from Bojack. So one of Diane's brothers says, like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And they sit there for a few minutes, and they literally do not come up with a plan at all. They just sit there. And Bojack's finally like, so are we gonna do anything? And they basically say no, because baseball's on, which is so insane.
Who knows where crazy goes?
I think I know where she went.
Bojack goes to leave, and Diane's brothers try to stop him, and Bojack is like, well, she seemed pretty upset. And then one of the brothers says,
The fifth brother I never had.
Really?
Yeah, don't leave, bro. After this, we're gonna play touch football and do a noogie parade.
I do feel bad for Bojack here because that's verbatim what he described when he talked about wanting brothers. And we also know that Bojack has a deep need for approval, love, and admiration. He's in a situation right now where he has to choose between that deep need to be loved by everyone or being a good friend. I just want to note Bojack's body language here. The one arm kind of holding the other arm is a very common body language throughout Bojack, and to me it often means I'm conflicted, I'm uncomfortable, I am at odds, things like that. I do kind of want to do a full video on all Bojack body language, like of all the characters, so I don't know, let me know if you guys want to see that. Back at Davy B's house,
Call me that.
things have hit the fan. We got raccoons stealing paintings, we got people fighting, Mila Kunis eating a sandwich, and Todd's just shoving money in a couch, note the bobbleheads. And Todd's, of course, freaking out and is like, oh my god, Princess Carolyn, what are we gonna do? And PC just bounces.
Princess Carolyn always lands on her feet.
Right after PC gets out of there, we see Meow Meow Fuzzy Face, who makes his first speaking appearance. If you recall, we saw him in the background when Bojack kicks PC out of the car in the pilot. Also, why is Fuzzy Face's sidekick stanced up like that? We cut to Mr. Peanut Butter in the living room, and he's on the phone with Diane, and he's not being bothered by the police at all, which is crazy since we see Meow Meow Fuzzy Face literally chasing a girl with a baton. Mr. Peanut Butter asks Diane how it's going with her, and Diane says that it's not good. And Diane cuts their conversation off when Bojack shows up, and we hear Mr. Peanut Butter say, "Bojack, what is he doing there?" before Diane hangs up on him. And here's the thing, I am a Diane stan. I love her. I am often biased towards her. That was weird. Hanging up on your long-term boyfriend when a male friend you've known for like maybe 2 months shows up and you didn't even tell your boyfriend he was coming with you to your dad's funeral? Yeah, no, really off, really weird, and Diane should know that that isn't appropriate. When Bojack finds Diane, the first thing that he does is apologize. And I don't know if we've actually seen him apologize to anyone yet. I don't think we have. Anyway, Bojack says that he found a letter for Diane.
Diane, it's me, your old pen pal Leo. This definitely isn't Bojack Horseman writing this. Good person, Diane, and that's the most important thing. Even if no one appreciates you, it's important that you don't stop being good.
Pausing here to discuss a body language thing, Diane's touching her hair during this conversation, and people touch their hair for a lot of different reasons, being nervous, self-conscious, flirting, and I do think throughout the early seasons, and maybe once or twice in later seasons, when Diane kind of does this playing with her hair thing in front of Bojack, I do feel like it's when he's being very flattering to her, when she feels some sort of attraction to him. Because if you watch the show before, you can't deny that Diane at some point had a crush on Bojack. It's just a fact.
You always bring your own bags to the grocery store and how you're always organized to go places. I like how you chew gum on the airplane so your ears will pop.
This scene is such a sweet moment, and it's the first time we've seen Bojack put someone else above himself. If this was for Todd, he would have stayed at the bar.
Family is a sinkhole, and you were right to get out when you had the chance.
Diane goes on to say that all she really wants is for her family to be proud of her, and she asks Bojack if that's stupid, and Bojack replies yes, because why would she want them to be proud of her?
The only thing to do now is just to keep living forward.
Yeah, but every time I come back here,
So don't come back here!
I love how Bojack makes her feel normal about her family issues. She doesn't seem to feel ashamed or judged, and that's because he gets it. I also want to note that while he is giving his little speech to Diane, he says, keep living forward, and that'll come up in the season finale, I believe. At the end of the conversation, Bojack says, your dad can't hurt anyone else ever again, and he hops up to sit with Diane on the hood of the truck, making the truck like seesaw, and Diane's chummed dad falls right out the back of the truck, and he starts Chef Boyardeeing his way through town to the tune of Gonna Spend the Day Over at Fenway.
Thank you so much, Derek Jeter. I thought a big baseball hotshot like you would be too busy to help us old ladies across the street.
I always have time to look out for my elders, Yankee fan or no.
Only at Fenway.
At the airport, Bojack hangs back in the car to make a phone call.
It's Herb. You know what to do.
It seems like life's too short to hold grudges and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? About life being too short. Well, of course, you know what I'm saying. You're the one with terminal. I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. So anyway, I thought maybe we could chat. So smell you later? This is Bojack Horseman, obviously.
Let's go! I am so excited to get to Herb. Bojack's nervousness and stammering is so real and feels organic as hell. Bojack then gets a call from a unlisted number and he ignores it.
Bojack, pick up. I'm sure he'll pick up.
It's Bojack, you know what to do.
I find it very clever that Bojack and Herb have the same voicemail. It kind of signals to the audience that while they are at odds, they do have similarities. And that's the episode. We have Diane and Bojack's relationship getting more complicated. We have Mr. Peanut Butter getting hung up on. Princess Carolyn just ditched Todd, and now Todd is in prison. Next episode, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 6. Our A story is a D story. And I am beyond excited to officially get to Hollywood. Until next time, I'm Joe without the E, and this has been Back in the 90s.